There's something surreal about coming home after a few days away. You expect comfort, familiarity, the smell of your own space, the quiet hum of routine. But sometimes you walk in, and the air hits you differently, heavier, as if something's not quite where it should be, even if everything looks the same. That's exactly how it felt when I stepped through the front door after my short business trip to Chicago. I'd only been gone 3 nights. Just a quick corporate summit with some painfully dull breakout sessions, a bad hotel mattress, and one dinner with a client who wouldn't stop bragging about his boat. I was tired but not exhausted, eager to sleep in my own bed, kiss my wife, maybe even watch a movie on the couch like we used to before things got busy. But the second I walked into the house, my skin prickled like it was reacting to something invisible. At first, I thought maybe I'd left the thermostat on too high, but that wasn't it. It wasn't the temperature. It was the silence. Usually, Melissa would be there to greet me. Maybe not at the door, but nearby with a smile or a sarcastic comment about how late I was. This time, nothing. No footsteps. No hug. Just the hollow echo of my own keys hitting the entryway table. Then I saw it. A men's sports jacket draped over the back of the living room couch. I froze. It wasn't mine. That much I knew instantly. The fabric looked expensive. Dark navy, probably wool, with a subtle texture I didn't recognize. I walked over, reached out, and touched it. Still warm somehow. Or maybe that was my imagination. I leaned in. Faint cologne. Not mine either. Rich, woody, musky, the kind that lingers even after the person leaves. My first thought wasn't even infidelity. It was confusion. Maybe I was misremembering. Maybe I'd bought it and forgotten. But no, that didn't make sense. I don't own anything like that, and Melissa's not exactly in the habit of buying men's clothes for fun. Hey, babe! Her voice rang out suddenly from the kitchen. Too chipper. Too fast. You're back already? Her tone was like a sitcom actress trying to cover up that the scene went off script. Yeah. I called back, trying to sound normal. Flight landed early. I walked into the kitchen, jacket still on my mind. She was drying her hands with a dish towel, standing by the sink like she'd been there a while. Her hair was tied back. No makeup, leggings and a tank top like she'd just gotten out of a workout. All normal. Too normal. Oh, that jacket? She said before I even brought it up. It's Brad's. From yoga. I blinked. Brad? I asked, raising an eyebrow. She waved a hand like it was no big deal. New guy at the studio. He stayed after class to show me some shoulder stretches, then left in a hurry and forgot his jacket. I was gonna text him about it. Total klutz. Her laugh was light, but her eyes didn't match. There was something performative about the way she said it, like she'd practiced the line in front of the mirror just in case. I wanted to ask more. Who brings a sports jacket to yoga? Why was he in our living room? But I let it go for the moment. I said instead, and glanced at the counter. 2 plates. One still had the remains of a chocolate dessert, a rich torte, by the looks of it. Definitely not store-bought. And next to it, 2 glasses. One empty, one still half full of red wine. Merlot. We don't drink during the week unless we're celebrating something. And certainly not if I'm out of town. You have company? I asked, keeping it casual. She followed my gaze, then smiled as if it was obvious. I had a self-care night. Treat yourself Tuesday. With a bottle of Merlot? She laughed again. Hey, I was lonely. It's weird when you're not here. The wine was already open. I just felt like indulging a bit. Her tone was breezy, but I noticed how quickly she rinsed the glasses and moved the plates into the dishwasher. Like she didn't want me looking too long. I said nothing, just nodded. But my stomach had started to twist in that slow, uncomfortable way you feel when you know something's not right but can't prove it. We went through the motions that night. She asked about my trip, the meetings, the food, the hotel. I told her about the guy who pitched a mindfulness productivity app that was just a glorified to-do list. She laughed, the kind of laugh she used to give me before things changed. It almost felt real. Almost. When I suggested we watch a movie like Old Times, she said she was too tired. Early start tomorrow, she said, already walking upstairs before I could answer. Rain check. Sure. Rain check. Later, I lay in bed beside her. She was on her phone, screen tilted slightly away. The glow lit her face, and I could see the tiny twitch in her brow, the one she always got when she was focused. Or hiding something. What are you reading? I asked. Just a blog, she replied quickly. Wellness stuff. Her thumbs moved faster than someone scrolling. I turned toward the ceiling and closed my eyes, but sleep didn't come easy. It had been months since we'd really connected. No more spontaneous kisses in the kitchen. No more lazy weekends in bed. The laughter was still there, but it felt thinner. More like a placeholder than something genuine. I kept telling myself it was just a rough patch. Work stress. Life stress. Everyone goes through it. But that jacket on the couch? That wasn't a rough patch. That was something else. The next morning, I got up early and went down to the living room before Melissa was awake. The jacket was gone. Not folded. Not hung up. Just gone. Like it had never been there at all. But I knew what I saw. I didn't say anything. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But a seed had been planted. And once doubt takes root, it doesn't just go away. It grows, slowly and quietly, in the back of your mind, twisting around every word, every smile, every late return home. That was the moment I knew something had changed between us. I didn't know what exactly, but I could feel it, humming beneath the surface like a fault line just waiting to crack. The mind's a funny thing when it starts connecting dots it used to ignore. After that night with the jacket, the plates, the wine, the awkward laughter, I told myself not to overthink it. Melissa was always friendly, open, spontaneous. Maybe I was just rusty from the road, paranoid from exhaustion. But something had cracked inside me quietly, and in the days that followed, I started to look at things differently. I didn't go snooping, at least not at first. It wasn't like that. I just started noticing more. 4 years we'd been an open book couple. Not in a performative look at us kind of way, just normal. We shared everything. Grocery lists, calendars, our location settings for when one of us ran errands or traveled. It wasn't about surveillance. It was just convenience, trust. Then one morning, I realized Melissa's location had stopped updating. At first, I thought it was a glitch. Sometimes the app just needs a refresh. But when I opened it again later that day, nothing. Gray icon. Location unavailable. I asked her about it, casual as I could. Oh yeah, I turned it off, she said, like it was no big deal. I kept getting those weird location pop-ups, and it was draining my battery. I nodded, but I remember thinking, she used to hate driving alone at night unless she could see where I was. Now she didn't care? It felt small, insignificant, but it stuck with me. Then came the password change. We used to unlock each other's phones all the time. I'd grab hers to change the music while driving. She'd use mine to order food if hers was charging. No big deal. We knew each other's passcodes for years. So one night, maybe a week after the jacket incident, I reached for her phone to check the weather while mine was upstairs. It buzzed as I picked it up. I swiped up and Face ID failed. I tried the old passcode. For digits I could have typed in my sleep. Wrong. Melissa looked up from the couch with a casual shrug. Oh yeah, I changed it. I've been trying to be more mindful about digital hygiene. You know, privacy. Privacy. It wasn't just the word that bothered me. It was the ease with which she said it, like it was completely reasonable to suddenly shut the door on something we'd always shared without a second thought. I didn't ask for the new code. Didn't want to seem insecure. But something in me shifted that night. I started listening to her differently. Not just the words, but the gaps between them. And I started remembering how, about 3 months earlier, she'd suddenly become obsessed with wellness retreats. She'd always been into health stuff, yoga, smoothies, crystals she never actually used. But now she was spending entire weekends at spas and silent retreats she never talked much about afterward. They're boring, she'd say, waving it off. Just meditating and drinking green juice with a bunch of middle-aged women. But she came back every time with glowing skin and a certain lightness, like someone who'd just returned from vacation with a secret. I also started to notice her scent. This is going to sound strange, but I know how my wife smells. Her perfume is soft and floral, subtle, like she didn't want it to announce itself. But lately, there were days she came home late and I could swear she smelled different. Stronger, sharper, sometimes even masculine. The first time I noticed it, I asked if she'd switched perfumes. "Oh no, it's probably just someone from class," she said. "We partner up a lot in yoga. Might have rubbed off on me." That answer worked once, maybe twice, but after the third or fourth time it just didn't sit right. Her laundry routine changed too. We always did our clothes together, whoever had time first. Sometimes I'd fold her socks. She'd hang up my shirts. Domestic stuff. No big deal. Then, one Saturday, I opened the hamper and saw it was nearly empty. Her side, anyway. Mine was full. She'd already done hers. Separately, quietly. I found her in the kitchen, unloading groceries. "You did laundry?" I asked, trying to sound curious, not accusatory. "Oh yeah," she said, like it was nothing. "Had some workout stuff I needed for class. Didn't want to wait." I nodded, but something about the way she said it felt too smooth. Like the answer had been waiting for the question. And it wasn't just that. The shared cloud account? She'd stopped uploading photos. That one hit me sideways. Melissa loved photos. She used to sync everything to our shared cloud, dinner pictures, yoga poses, even random sunsets. It was a running joke between us that her phone had more pictures of smoothie bowls than of me. But lately, I realized there hadn't been any new uploads for weeks, maybe months. First, I chalked it up to being busy. But then I remembered she'd taken a trip to a wellness seminar in the city 3 weekends ago. She was gone overnight. She even texted me a picture of a skyline from her hotel. But that photo never showed up in the cloud. I asked about it casually one night. "Hey, you never uploaded that Skylines H*T. It was a good one." She looked up from her tea and smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Oh yeah, forgot. It's probably buried in my phone somewhere." The thing is, Melissa never forgot stuff like that. Her phone was her scrapbook. If it wasn't syncing, it was because she didn't want it to. Even our shared calendar had changed. She used to fill it up, appointments, classes, reminders, color-coded for each of us. She thought it was cute. "Our digital love language," she once joked. Now half the calendar was blank. Or worse, marked unavailable with no details. I stared at that word one night. Unavailable. Felt more honest than she realized. That weekend, she told me she was heading to a moon circle with some of the women from her sound bath group. Said they were doing something with candles and intentions and maybe a little journaling. I nodded, pretended not to care. But when she left, I sat there in the silence, staring at our calendar. Unavailable. That word kept echoing in my head. Unavailable to who? To me? To us? I wasn't the kind of guy to spiral into conspiracy theories. I'm not paranoid by nature. I've always believed in giving people the benefit of the doubt, especially someone I've built a life with. But when you stack enough coincidences on top of each other, they stop looking like coincidences. And all of it, the locked phone, the disappearing photos, the new perfume, the solo laundry, the blank calendar blocks, it didn't just feel like distance. It felt like a separate life. The strangest part was how normal she acted. If she was hiding something, she was doing it calmly, effortlessly. There were no shouting matches, no sudden mood swings, just a steady, almost pleasant rhythm to our days. Like she'd found peace somewhere, just not with me. Sometimes I wondered if I was imagining it, if I was being dramatic. But other times, I felt like the only one in the room who knew we were playing pretend. I started watching her more closely, not in a stalkerish way, just observing. The way she flinched, just slightly, when I kissed her cheek unexpectedly. The way her voice tightened when I asked how her day went. The way she always seemed to have just one more thing to do before bed. Each moment on its own could have been innocent. But strung together, they started to feel like a warning. Not a loud one, a quiet one. A whisper I couldn't ignore anymore. There's a difference between suspecting something and knowing it. When you're in the gray zone, your mind plays defense. Bending facts, reshaping memories, editing reality just enough to keep you comfortable. You convince yourself you're overthinking, that you're being unfair, that love deserves the benefit of the doubt. But once the truth shows itself, you can't go back. You can't unknow what you now know. For me, that moment came on a Tuesday night. I remember it with unsettling clarity. The color of the sky outside, the hum of the fridge, the glass of water sweating on the counter. Melissa had left for what she called a work dinner. She said it like she always did, breezy and indifferent, standing by the mirror in a soft gray dress I hadn't seen before. Not too formal, not too casual. Expensive, though. The kind of outfit that makes you look effortless without being forgettable. "Don't wait up," she said, clipping in one last earring. "Who's the dinner with?" I asked, pretending not to care. She grabbed her bag, already halfway out the door. "It's a client thing. My team's putting together some numbers for the Q4 rollout. Super boring. I'll probably fall asleep at the table." She kissed me on the cheek, light, barely there, and was gone before I could even process what she'd said. I stood in the hallway for a while after the door shut, just staring at it. There was a tightness in my chest I couldn't explain, like my body knew something my brain wasn't ready to say out loud. I almost let it go. Almost. But then I got the call. I wasn't expecting it. Came through my laptop, of all things, FaceTime audio routed through Melissa's corporate email. Probably a glitch. I answered instinctively, expecting silence or maybe someone trying to schedule a meeting. Instead, I heard music. Not hold music, real music. A saxophone, slow and rich, playing something I didn't recognize. In the background, the clinking of glasses, soft laughter, faint conversation. Restaurant ambience. Not a boardroom. Then a voice. Male. Confident. Familiar in a way that made my stomach drop. "She's all mine tonight, gentlemen. Hands off." Laughter followed. Then Melissa's voice. Light. Playful. "Be nice. I still have to work with these people." He chuckled. "I can't help it. You look too damn good tonight." There was a pause, long enough to make me feel like I was eavesdropping on something sacred. Or shameful. I couldn't decide which. Then, clear as day, she said, "You're terrible." But her tone? It wasn't annoyed. It was flattered. Flirtatious. Int asterisk mate. That was it. I ended the call before I heard anything more. Not because I couldn't handle it, because I could. I already had. I ended the call because I didn't want to give her the chance to explain it away later. I didn't want to hear her say it was a joke, or that I misunderstood. I needed the moment to stay raw and unfiltered in my mind, because this wasn't suspicion anymore. It was confirmation. It was betrayal with a timestamp. I sat in silence for a long time after that, my laptop still open in front of me, the cursor blinking on an empty email draft I'd been writing before the call came through. I stared at it like it meant something, like the blinking itself was trying to tell me what to do next. For the first time in this whole mess, I felt the ground shift beneath me. Up until that point, there was always room for doubt. Always a sliver of hope that maybe I was wrong. That maybe Melissa was going through something and didn't know how to talk about it. That maybe we'd grown distant, but not dishonest. Now, that hope was gone, replaced by a silence so heavy, it felt like grief. I thought I'd feel rage, fury, but what I felt instead was emptiness. A hollowed-out space where trust used to live. A weight pressing against my ribs that made it hard to breathe. I didn't call her, didn't text, didn't demand answers. I just waited. That night I didn't sleep. I lay in bed with the lights off, staring at the ceiling while the hours dragged past. My phone buzzed around 11:17 p.m. A text from her. "Dinner ran long. Heading home now. Miss you." I didn't respond. When she got back, I pretended to be asleep. She moved quietly, like someone trying not to wake a guilty conscience. I could hear the faint rustle of fabric, the zipper of her dress, the soft thump of her heels being set down near the door, the sound of her brushing her teeth. When she finally slipped into bed beside me, I kept my breathing steady. She turned toward me. Her hand brushed my shoulder. "I missed you today," she whispered. I said nothing. The next morning, she acted normal. Too normal. Coffee. kisses on the cheek, a half-eaten smoothie and a rushed goodbye. I sat at the table long after she left, staring at the cup she'd barely touched. I wasn't angry. Not yet. That would come later. What I felt now was clarity. All the strange behavior. The guarded phone. The solo laundry. The blocked calendar events. The cologne that didn't belong to me. None of it was theoretical anymore. Now it had a voice. A tone. A man. And Melissa, laughing like she belonged to him. I replayed that moment over and over in my head. His voice calling her his. The way she didn't correct him. The way she liked it. I wondered how long it had been going on. Weeks? Months? Had it started with the retreats? The yoga classes? Or had it started long before that? When we stopped reaching for each other without thinking. When dinners became quiet and kisses became routine. It didn't matter. What mattered was this. She had crossed a line. Not just with her body, but with her loyalty. Her laughter didn't belong to me anymore. Her attention, her secrets, her warmth, all redirected toward someone else. And I had proof. Unshakable. Undeniable. There's a strange sort of peace that comes with certainty. It's a brutal peace, cold, sharp-edged, but peace nonetheless. No more spiraling. No more guessing games. Just the awful, solid truth. I'd spent weeks on the edge of suspicion, staring into shadows. Now I'd stepped into the light, and everything I feared was real. Once you stop lying to yourself, everything looks different. After that call, the voices, the laughter, her not-so-subtle flirtation, I couldn't unhear it. I couldn't pretend anymore, and I didn't want to. That night flipped a switch in me. The hesitation, the hope, the excuses. All of it burned off like fog under sunlight. What was left was sharp, focused. I wasn't going to confront her, not yet. I needed more than a phone call. I needed facts. Cold, clear facts that couldn't be twisted or softened. Not because I planned some big blow-up. That would have been easy. What I needed was proof that couldn't be argued with. Something undeniable. Something she couldn't spin into misunderstanding. I started with our bank account. Melissa and I shared everything financially, or we used to, but lately, I noticed some small changes. A new card in her wallet. A few missing receipts. She'd started handling her expenses more independently. Said it made things simpler with her work reimbursements. Now I wasn't so sure. I logged in and downloaded the last 4 months of joint bank statements. I combed through each line like I was reviewing an audit. And there it was. Charges from restaurants we'd never been to, places on the opposite side of town from her yoga studio or wellness retreats, upscale venues, romantic settings, 2-person table kind of places. There was a charge from a rooftop bar we always said we'd try but never had. A bill from a wine-tasting lounge in Midtown. A steakhouse reservation charged the same night she told me she was at a sound healing event. And hotel charges. That was the one that hit me the hardest. I stared at the transaction. A boutique hotel near the waterfront, billed under her name. It wasn't a chain. It was the kind of place you go when you don't want to be found. Room charge, spa service, bar tab. The date aligned perfectly with one of her overnight seminars. I remember she came home looking radiant, said the hotel was just meh, and complained about the vegan food. Liar. I clicked deeper into the card statements. There was a second charge I hadn't noticed before. Another hotel, different city, same pattern. Dinner, minibar, a spa charge. And a gift shop purchase labeled luxury accessories. I wasn't ready to imagine what that meant. Not yet. I kept digging. In the garage, I opened the trunk of her car. Felt invasive, but I was past caring. Buried under her yoga mat and a few reusable grocery bags was a small gift box, the kind jewelry comes in. I opened it carefully. Inside were a pair of cufflinks. Gold. Heavy. Engraved with initials. Not mine. I turned the box over and found a tiny printed card tucked into the base. You make the stress worth it. M. My chest tightened. I sat there, crouched in the dim light of the garage, cufflinks in my hand, and felt something collapse inside me. Not rage. Just silence. like someone had turned the volume all the way down on everything that used to matter. I took photos. I put everything back exactly as I found it. Back inside, I checked the trash. Not because I was looking for anything specific, but because when your world starts falling apart, you look everywhere. And sure enough, I found a receipt tucked deep in the bathroom wastebasket, folded and torn in half. It was from a spa downtown. Couples massage. 90 minutes. Her name was on the booking. 2 guests. I didn't need to know who the second person was. I already knew. Still, I needed more. I checked our shared cloud account again. Most of her photo uploads had stopped, but she must have slipped. In the recently deleted folder were 6 images. Most were blurry or accidental, sealing sh*ts or a mirror selfie. But one stood out. Melissa, in a black dress, holding a champagne flute, smiling not for the camera but at someone behind it. The lighting was low, warm, elegant. She was standing in what looked like a hotel room, based on the decor. A table set for 2 behind her. The edge of a man's arm was visible out of focus, but definitely present. I recovered the image and saved a copy to an external drive. I checked the photo metadata. Time-stamped, dated. It matched the same weekend as the waterfront hotel charge. Another piece of the puzzle locked into place. Still, she was careful. I'll give her that. Smart, calculated. She'd stopped leaving traces, at least the obvious ones. But digital footprints are hard to erase. People forget what syncs, what backs up in the background. Melissa had always loved smart devices. Now they were becoming her undoing. I checked the voice assistant history on the speaker in the bedroom. Most entries were innocent, playlists, timers, weather updates. But one entry stood out. Set reminder. Call Marcus at 10 p.m. Marcus, her boss. That name had come up before, casually, in passing. The one who pushes everyone too hard and needs to learn boundaries. She used to complain about him. Now she was setting private late-night reminders with his name. I searched her laptop next. It had been sitting on the dining room table, unattended. I wasn't sure I'd find anything, but I had to look. If nothing else, I needed to understand the scope of this. Whatever it was, her browser history was mostly wiped, cleared daily. But she missed one folder in her downloads, a PDF labeled Conference Itinerary. I opened it. The event was real, a leadership summit in the city. But when I checked the dates, they didn't match the weekend she said she was gone. Same location, same sponsor, different week. She hadn't been at the summit. She'd just used the name. I cross-checked her hotel booking from that weekend. It matched the fake conference dates she'd given me, but not the actual event schedule. I printed it, added it to the growing file I was assembling in a locked folder on my personal drive. I had a plan forming now, not revenge but clarity. I didn't want to go scorched earth. I wasn't interested in screaming matches or dramatic scenes. I just wanted the truth. Undeniable, inarguable truth. Because somewhere in all this, I still wanted to look her in the eye and give her the chance to confess. Not because I needed it, but because she deserved that opportunity, the final chance to be honest, even if it was too late. I needed to know if she could look at me and say it out loud. And if she couldn't, then I'd know everything I needed to know. That week, I watched her closely. She was good, better than I expected. She kissed me goodbye, laughed at my jokes, asked how my day went, but none of it felt real. I found myself studying her like a stranger. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear, the pauses between her sentences, the way her hand hovered over her phone screen just a beat too long before putting it down. I started keeping a log, not because I planned to trap her, but because I didn't trust myself anymore. I didn't trust my memory, my instincts. She'd made me doubt everything I thought I knew. So I wrote it all down. Each inconsistency, each excuse, each time she said she had a late class, but came home with perfect makeup and the faintest trace of someone else's cologne. I documented everything, and through it all I stayed silent, smiling, calm, patient. But underneath, I was building something, and I wasn't going to stop until it was finished. At first, I thought this was just about her and him, An affair, a betrayal, a woman lying to her husband and sneaking around behind his back. That's the story I thought I was living. But the more I looked, the more I realized that wasn't the full picture. This wasn't just infidelity. It was something else. Something bigger. I had started documenting everything like it was a case file. *TS, photos, printed statements, timelines. I organized it all in a folder, digital and physical. I didn't even know what I planned to do with it yet. Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. But somewhere along the way, curiosity turned into investigation. One night, I logged into our shared tax software just to see if anything had changed. We'd filed jointly for years. Melissa always handled the uploads from her job, especially her contractor forms and deductions. I trusted her with that. She had an eye for details and hated math errors. But this time, something didn't add up. There was a 1099 form I'd never seen before, issued to a company under both of our names. Mindroot Wellness, LLC. I stared at it for a full minute. I had never heard of it. It wasn't a company I worked for. I'd never signed anything for it. And yet, there it was, filing under my name as a silent partner. Silent partner? I clicked deeper. The listed business address was A.P.O. Box in a neighboring city. The account number was tied to a business checking account I didn't recognize. Under Melissa's name, but with mine tagged as Additional Authorized Representative. Somehow, I was financially tied to this business. I sat back in my chair, trying to breathe. Was this identity theft? Or something else? I dug further, pulling bank records, cross-referencing email confirmations, and reviewing the apps connected to our joint email account. Hidden beneath automated wellness newsletters and promotional spam, I found it. 3 invoices sent from Melissa's email under the name of Mindroot Wellness. Each invoice was addressed to the same person, Marcus, her boss. The subject line on one read, Q3 Healing Integration Package. Billed amount, $4,500. I checked the transaction history from her business account. The payment was marked complete. Funds transferred. But there was no record of any actual service. No paperwork. No follow-up. No session notes. Nothing you'd expect from a legitimate wellness business. Just a payment. From Marcus to Melissa, through a shell company that had both of our names on it. That was when it clicked. This wasn't just her hiding an affair. She was laundering the affair. I pulled up the corporate records for Mindroot Wellness. Registered 6 months ago. Melissa as the founder. My name listed in the articles of organization as co-founder and investor. Investor? I never invested in anything. But the file said otherwise. There was a digital signature, mine, supposedly. It looked convincing. Same font. Same slanted A. But I didn't write it. I'd never even seen the form before. Melissa had forged it. I felt a deep, slow burn rise in my chest. This wasn't about betrayal anymore. This was about fraud. About manipulation at a level I hadn't imagined. And I wasn't just collateral. I was being used. My name, my identity, my clean financial record, all of it dragged into something that could ruin me. If anyone looked into this, really looked, it would look like I was complicit. Like I was profiting from phony wellness invoices that funneled money from a corporate executive into our joint household. I scrolled through more documents. One PDF was a marketing brochure, slick, with soft beige tones and photos of candles, yoga mats, and ocean waves. The tagline said, "Where body meets business. Heal your corporate soul." It was ridiculous and fake. It described retreats that didn't exist, locations that were never booked, testimonials with generic names like Lisa T. and corporate coach James. I checked the photo files, stock images, every single one. Melissa had built an entire fake company as a cover. To hide what? The affair? The money? Both? I checked my credit report next. Still clean for now. But one hard inquiry from a month ago caught my attention. A credit card application under Mindroot's name. Denied. Still, she'd tried. She was expanding the story, growing the cover. And she dragged me into all of it. That night, I sat in the living room staring at the closed laptop, my heart pounding in my ears. I could hear her upstairs, showering, humming to herself, as if she wasn't staging a one-woman con job behind our shared life. My first instinct was to confront her, to demand she explain what Mindroot Wellness was, why my name was on the paperwork, why her boss had sent thousands of dollars to a fake company. But I didn't, because I knew how that would go. She'd twist it, downplay it, say it was a tax mistake, or a startup idea she hadn't told me about, or some spiritual hustle she thought would empower women in leadership. She'd act surprised that I didn't remember signing something. She'd deny the forgery, or worse, say I had signed it, just forgot. And maybe that's the scariest part. She was good at this. So good, I'd almost convinced myself it was just an affair. But now I saw her for what she really was. Calculated, careful, dangerous. I printed everything. The bank records, the tax forms, the LLC paperwork, the digital brochure. I even printed the photo of her holding champagne in that hotel room. It didn't connect directly to the company, but it connected her to the story. I organized the pages in a binder, page protectors and all. My hands didn't shake. Not anymore. This wasn't grief now. It was strategy. I locked the binder in my office drawer and began researching white-collar crime. It sounds dramatic, but I needed to know what kind of exposure I was looking at. What the risk was. Could I be held responsible? Could her mistakes destroy my credit? My job? My reputation? I didn't have answers yet. But I was done playing the naive husband. Melissa didn't just cheat. She built a lie big enough to live inside. A business, a brand, a billing system. She'd pulled her lover into it. Turned their affair into a fake transaction, like that would make it less real, less risky. But it only made it worse. It made it criminal. And if she thought she could keep using my name like a prop in her theater of deception, she was about to find out how wrong she was. The affair was the symptom. This was the disease. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I organized everything: bank statements, forged forms, **TS, audio from that call. Quietly, methodically, I watched her play the loving wife while living a double life.